today I wanted to give you a quick overview on how to get a document and put it into your Google Forms and create an assignment or a quiz out of it. So I've already typed up the document, but I'm going to show you. This is my original, was a PDF over aerospace engineering. This is not my subject. I received this from another teacher, but this is what the original looked like. They had a fillable PDF, and we're wanting to use Google Classroom, and so this is not the ideal way to do that. So what I did is I took each of those questions and typed them into a Google form. I started with the student's name, that way I know who the assignment belongs to. This is always good practice to default to make sure the first question is their name. And I did last first just so it's easier for me to sort. But after that, I just placed them in. So this is going to be a short answer question. So you can see the question was cut off there, so I did it as a short answer. For the matching questions, what I did, let me come in here and edit. I did the multiple choice grid, so you can see that I did the questions are the columns, and then the questions are in the rows, and the answer choices are in the columns. I did make all my questions required, so I've just gone through and put everything in here, and then I have my short answer and long answer questions at the end, just like you had in the document. So additionally to that, like I said, every question was set to required, but now I do want this. You can see I've got a point value here. I want this assignment to be worth points, so I want to set it to be a quiz. So the way I do that is I go into my settings. So I'm going to go through all the things you can have on here. So I already have collect email addresses selected. That's going to always be a great thing so you can automatically collect those. And then it allows you, if you're wanting to release grades out later, you can see it's required to release grades manually. If you want to limit to one response, especially if you don't want them redoing the assignment over and over again, or for quizzes, you probably want to have that box checked. For now, I'm leaving this unchecked because that allows me to go in and fill this in multiple times as I play with it and test to make sure my form is working correctly. But once I'm ready to release to students, I'll go in and I'll check this box. You have a couple other options here. For now, I'm going to leave all of those blank. It's not going to be feasible to use these at this time. But here's the confirmation message. Your response has been recorded, but if you want to personalize this message at the end, you know, thank you, I'll release your grades within 24 hours, or something along the lines of that, whatever, or you can leave it as its default, whatever is going to be best for you. I just wanted to show you that you do have the option of personalizing the confirmation message after submission. Now what the important one is we're looking at is today. When you come in, this is defaulted to off. So I want to make this a quiz, so I'm going to click on that to toggle it on. And then so you can either release a grade later after manual review, or you can do immediately after each submission. Now, if you had an assignment that was a straight multiple choice questions, there were no questions that would need you to visually review them, then I would select this first option, unless for some reason you don't want them to have their grades. The assignment we're doing does have some short answer questions on here, so I will need to review those. So I'm going to click this option. And then you have choices as to what you want the students or the respondents to see. Do you want them to be able to see which questions they missed? Do you want them to see what the correct answer is? And this will be after grades are released. So if you wait to release everybody's at once, maybe this is fine. But if you're taking, doing automatically and it's a quiz grade, you probably don't want this out because you don't want them to have the correct answers to the quiz to share with the next class period. And then if you want them to know how much value is on each question. So that is going to be up to you what you want to have selected. I'm going to leave them all there for now. But if you make any of these changes, do make sure you hit save. So now we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how to set the point values, provide feedback, and things like that. So if I click on the answer, it's just this is where you would normally type it in. So what you want to do is hit answer key. I'm going to cut this out because normally this would be blank. Okay, so when you come in here, this normally would look like this. You have 0 points weighted, and you would have no correct answers. So here's where you would type in your correct answer if it was a short answer. I'm going to just paste that back in. If you wanted to have multiple options, so if you wanted to take multiple ways that they might type this in, or if there are multiple different answers for this, like if the question was simple as give an example of a fruit, and you wanted to list 5 different fruits on here. You put apples, oranges, peaches, etc. on each of these lines. And then you could say mark all other answers incorrect. Now, this is where you're going to have to really make a decision, because if the student does not write something exactly as one of these answers that you've listed, then they would be marked wrong. So if they just wrote aeronautics space astronautics, they didn't put the slash, that answer would then be marked wrong. So you could obviously go back in and override that, but if you don't want it to automatically mark it wrong, you can leave it blank. You know, if it's a spelling error, they don't spell it correctly, it would be marked wrong. So I'm going to leave it unchecked because I know there could be spelling errors and they may not write it exactly the same way I did. I want to manually check that. And then the other thing is you want to be able to come over here and assign the point value for the question. So if, for example, if you wanted to be able to do partial credit, so this whole thing would be worth 5 points, later on if they got one right but they got one wrong, you can give partial credit, which is a really nice thing. So I'm going to go through for each question. I'm going to pop in what the correct answer is, and I'm going to pop in what my point value is. I'm just going to do that for each question. So I've marked that this is false. Okay, another cool option is you can provide feedback. So I'm going to delete these out so I can show you what that would look like. So I'm going to say add answer feedback. So if it's an incorrect answer, I might want to tell them, please review, this question was over fluid mechanics. So I'm going to say, please review fluid mechanics again. And maybe I want to provide them with a way to review that. So this link option here provides me to get a link. So I can provide a link to a website. If I have a document in my drive that I want to add, just get the shareable link and paste that in here, I can put a link to a specific document. And then if you want to provide the text, I will say, maybe PowerPoint over fluid mechanics, or whatever the website is called. You can add those texts on there. Another option is if you want to, you can provide them with a YouTube video to review. So I'm going to look up fluid mechanics. And I'm going to grab a video and select it, and I'm going to save. And then the kids will have access. Before we move on, you can also provide feedback for correct answers. So I'm just going to say great answer or great choice. But you can obviously make something different, or you can just leave it blank and only provide feedback if the answer is wrong. So after you're done, you're going to save that. So you can see here what the feedback would be for the right answer, and you can see what they're going to get for the wrong answer. And you would see the video that the students would be receiving, or the link to the document that they would be receiving. So you'll just go through your entire document and go to each question, assign your point values, assign any feedback that you'd want to, and it's automatically saved in there. So now, once you're done and you're ready to submit, you can send this out to your kids. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this document, and I'm just going to fill it in as if I was a student so that we can get answers to review. And of course, there we go. So Google is being a little bit slow today. All right, so I'm going to type this in. So let's see. I'm just going to pick some random answers here so we can have some stuff in. So since they're all required, it won't let them move on and submit until everything is selected. It does kind of help them with spelling, which is nice. And alright, so then they will submit. And it says it's been recorded. So they're not, on this case, since I said I will submit later, they're not going to automatically get that feedback, but once I've released that feedback out, they will be able to go in and see, because I selected everything, all the wrong answers, the video that I embedded, all my feedback, etc. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to look at, now you can see I've got one response. I'm going to look at my responses. I'm going to look at individual, And you can see I'm starting off, the student has a 70. So I'm going to give them 5 points because they put their name on the assignment. Let's see, I'm going to give them 0 points on that one. This is one I had a review because I did not quite get what I was looking for. And then you can see they give you green checks and the point values on the ones that they get correct. You can see they get no points on the ones that they've missed. And then my questions that need to be reviewed, again, I defaulted to be counted wrong until I check them. So I had satellites was the correct answer, and they wrote satellite. I'm like, okay, same thing. So I can go ahead and give them the 5 points for that. And I'm going to give them the 5 points for getting that one correct. So you can see it's already bumped up to the 85. One other thing that you can do is for each question, if you want to provide individual feedback in addition to what you may have or may not have put in as an automatic, is you can add individual feedback for each student. So it's specialized and specific where that student's the only one that receives it. Here's where if you want to give them specific instruction on a topic, give them feedback on, that if you notice they're being weak on a certain thing, maybe give them hints on how to improve on this area, or words of encouragement. Maybe you're noticing, hey, you know what, you are improving, keep up the good work. I like seeing that you're doing better. Anything that you might want to say to a kid, you can see for each individual question, you can provide individual feedback. So this is going to be really great, especially for these short answer questions where you can't provide automatic feedback, as you can go in and give them specific feedback on that question. So once you're done, you'll save it, and then you can release scores. All right, and then you can do all respondents or specific ones, and then if you wanted to provide a message, send emails and release, and then the students will receive their scores in their student email, which currently is now in their 365 account, so they can log into their 365 account to get those emailed scores. So hopefully this was helpful in getting you the basics on how to get a assignment that you use in your class and turn it into a Google Doc. And thank you, and I hope that you guys use this in the future.